Bob's Breakfast.
Morning, Adam.
Graham?
Yes?
How comes there's always a single shoe on the side of a road? Where's the other shoe gone?
Another one of the great mysteries of the world. Why is there always a single shoe? Did somebody lose a shoe? Or did there used to be two shoes there and somebody found a shoe? Maybe there were two shoes there and a one-legged person came along and went, brilliant, a new shoe.
Turn your knob to Bob.
So the Queen is going to Whipsnade Zoo today.
She is. She's off to the zoo.
A baby elephant that's been named after her.
Yes, that's right. She's going to meet this elephant.
That sounds kind of apt. Because, you know, they do have a lot in common.
Go on.
Well, the elephant is part of a captive breeding program.
Yes.
And they both live in an artificial environment where tourists wave at them and take their picture. The Great British Bake Off is making front page news. Yes, a TV show about cooking. A baking contest. It was big news that it's moved from the BBC to Channel 4. And now it's just big news because it's on. With new hosts. Honestly, if a baking contest can be a hit TV format, what else is out there that could bring in the ratings? Joe?
An idea for a TV format.
Yes.
Vegetarian fishing.
And how would vegetarian fishing work, Joe?
You have competitors lined up and they each have a fishing rod and line, but there's no hook on the line. They just sit there and wait and wait. But the thing is, whoever can wait the longest is the winner.
Bob's Breakfast.
Let's get the latest news. Chris Hubbard.
Trending on Twitter this morning, Boaty McBoatface.
Is it back?
The submarine has returned home.
Oh, no, you see now, it was the ship, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Arctic Surveyor or whatever the thing was. It was being built and the competition to name it Boaty McBoatface. And the weasels that ran the competition decided not to do what they said, which is we'll name the boat after the number one, which was Boaty McBoatface. So instead they named the submarine after it, which is a real kind of like a parenty thing to do, isn't it? You know, I tell you, like Julie had this and she'll never forget it. She had two older brothers and an older sister. She's the youngest of four. Star Wars comes out and they decide she's too young to see it. I don't know what age she was. All her older siblings went to see Star Wars. Her parents took her to the planetarium instead. And she's still not over that.
How disappointing.
Hey, good morning to Sue in Panshanger. Listen, I've just spoken to your hubby. You've no idea how sorry he is. He's really messed up. And he would love to talk to you. He wants you back. He really means it. And if you can just pick up the phone and have a chat with him. The man is full of regret. He loves you to bits. Give him a call, Sue. Good morning, Sue.
Hello. You just did an announcement for Sue in Panshanger.
Yeah, it was for you. Steve just called. Steve has just called me, and he really is upset. He knows he's made a huge mistake. He loves you more than life itself, and he wants you to forgive him and take him back.
I'll call him. Thank you.
You'll call him. Give him a call, Sue.
Thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.
This is Bob.
Amazing story has come out about this bloke who found a badger in his house. The badger was at the top of the stairs. He came home and he was looking at, first he thought it was a cuddly toy, and he shooed it off with a broom. He had a brush with wildlife. Literally. What's your brush with wildlife story, Keith?
Hello, Graham. A few years back, I was in the New Forest at a wedding reception,
Yeah.
staying in this little nice little B&B.
Yeah.
And I woke up in the morning, and I thought, what's that rubbing up against me bum cheek? Something nice and warm. I thought, well, I don't remember getting lucky at the wedding reception or anything like that, bringing someone back to the B&B.
Yeah.
And I turned round and I looked, and what it was, where I was in the ground floor room, I slept with the window open, there was a New Forest pony rubbing its nose against my bum.
Now, had
And
the
I
New
thought,
Forest pony...
oh my God.
He's just stuck his head through the window.
Stuck his head through the window. So, of course, I went down for my breakfast and I said to the woman, oh, God, I've had a New Forest pony out his head through the window, frightened the life out of me this morning. She went, oh, yeah, the travelling salesman that normally has that running during the week feeds it toast through the window every morning.
So, did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, busy one.
I went up north. My mate Dickie Thomas, who I've known since I was 2, so I've known him for a long time, and Dickie lived next door to me. So we literally walked to school together on our first day at school and went through high school together and everything, and I don't see him that much. So he says, we'll go out for a drink with a couple of my mates. And he texted me and he said, we'll go to the Sportsman's Arms, which is in a place called Penketh. And like, Penketh is like 3 miles from where we grew up in Great Sankey. So once we're there, Dickie shows up and I said, it's a nice enough pub, but why are we here? Why are we not at one of the pubs like the Chapel House or something in Sankey? Why are we here?
Yeah.
And he went, I like to come here, 'cause it's handy for Greggs. And I thought, well, there must be some kind of pasty involved later on in the evening.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, Greg's open this late. Well, anyway, 10 minutes later, he introduces me to one of his mates. He said, this is Greg.
Do you reckon Elvis is still around?
No.
No?
Why would Elvis be alive? The theory is that maybe he faked his own death.
Yeah.
Now, I get that. Okay? Elvis was probably the most famous person in the world, which has got to be a drag. There is a chance that Elvis said, you know what? I just want to go back to being unknown. I want my life back. And he may have faked his own death and then now lives in disguise as not Elvis. I get that. That's possible.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's the thing that lets it down. You're the most famous person in the world, and you're planning to fake your own death. The first thing you've got to go is, well, how am I going to pretend to die? I don't think you would come up with, I know, I'll die on the toilet trying to pass a giant turd.
Bob's Breakfast.
Morning, Joe.
How you doing today, buddy?
Very good.
Hey, dude, I wonder if you can do me a big favor.
Uh-huh.
I'm about to take my son to school, and we listen to your show every day on the way to school.
Okay.
And today's his 6th birthday.
6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you would do me a favor, like in 10 minutes, if you could wish him a happy birthday over the air, that would be amazing.
Okay. And what's his name?
Noah Brown.
Noah Brown is 6 today. Let's see if I can do this. Today is Noah's birthday. I got the word from Joe. Today is Noah's birthday. He told me all I need to know. Today is Noah's birthday. Happy birthday, Noah. You're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 today. Yes, we're going to a party. Yes, we're going to a party. Yes, we're going to a party, yeah. Happy birthday, Noah!
That's awesome, Brown.
This is Bob.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jane in Langley. How are you?
I've been listening to your game.
Yes, do you like them? Which game do you like?
I like Donald or Duke.
Yes, that is the game where I tell you something that somebody said and you have to tell me whether it was said by Donald Trump or it was said by the Duke of Edinburgh. Who asked a 24-year-old sea cadet who asked them, "Do you work in a strip club?" Was that Donald Trump or the Duke of Edinburgh? Do you work in a strip club? Asked to a 24-year-old sea cadet. Was that Donald or Duke?
Well, it's a bit seedy. And Donald Trump's a bit seedy.
Yes.
So I'm going to go Donald.
You're saying Donald said that. It's the wrong answer. The correct answer is the Duke of Edinburgh. He said this was
here.
It was in 2010. He was talking to Elizabeth Rendell, a 24-year-old Barnstable sea cadet. He said, "Do you work in a strip club?"
Priceless. He is up.
Join us again next time for my new experimental game, Donald or Duke, on Bob FM.
Here we are. Bob's Breakfast.
A robot cemetery in Russia. This is where you take your gadgets that you know when they die, and you're really grieving for them. So, talking about the gadgets you've had that when they went, you really felt it. And Darren, you used to have one of these, a stylophone.
Yeah. Well, I wanted one for my 10th birthday, and I didn't get one, so I was pretty gutted. But I got one that same year on the Christmas.
Right.
And within a week, I ran out 3 batteries. You know, them little square things that you can put on your tongue.
Oh, little 9 volts, yeah.
Yeah, them little one things. And I drove my mum mental with it, and in the end, apparently, right, it got chewed up by one of the dogs because we had two Alsatians, Husky and Sabre.
Right.
But you could clearly see, that a hammer had gone through it. I mean, I weren't sure whether it was my mum or whether it was my idiotic brother, at the end of the day, it was a case of bottom lip syndrome, I didn't cry.
Oh, no.
It was I was gutted, I waited so long for it, and then I only had it just over a week. Yeah.
Well, clearly somebody had enough of it after a week. Yeah.
Well, I reckon it was my mum.
Yeah.
Who bought it in the first place.
Yeah, it could well have been. Oh.
Yeah, you knew.
This is Bob.
Parking stories this morning. What's yours, Lynn?
You're going to absolutely love this one. This is true, definitely true. My mum was a traffic warden.
Right.
And when my eldest girl, who's now 36, was when she was about 4 or 5, I had to go to the shops to get some bits from our local co-op in Cheshunt, and I parked with her outside the shop. She was in the car, locked her in, charged in, got the bits I needed. Literally, I was only no more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Got back to the car, and she used to call my mum Mama. She never called her grandma.
Right.
And she said, "Mum, Mama came and put that thing on the windscreen of the car."
No. No.
Yes. My own mother gave me a ticket.
Did she know it was your car?
My her granddaughter was in the back of the car. So when I got home, I rang her and said, "Mum, what are you doing giving me a ticket?" She said, "You were parked illegally. You are not my daughter when you're on the road with a car. And if I had left you out, all the other cars that also got tickets would have complained."
I think your mum's taking the job too seriously.
Yeah, so do I. I could not, but I had to laugh.
Well, yeah,
because
but now,
I could not believe my own mum would give me a ticket.
I give traffic wardens a hard time, but this is proof right here, isn't it? That they deserve everything they get. Are the Russians ready to invade us? There was a Russian submarine in the English Channel on the weekend. The Royal Navy ship HMS Somerset spotted it off the east coast of the UK on Friday morning and followed it through the Strait of Dover. Last month, Somerset's sister ship HMS Sutherland escorted 2 Russian warships that sailed close to UK waters. And the Russians keep doing this. RAF jets keep getting scrambled to keep an eye on Russian military planes that fly close to the UK. In February, Typhoons were deployed to monitor 2 nuclear-capable Tupolev Tu-160 Blackjack bombers. A lot of people are worried about what the Russians are up to. Well, if they're trying to mount a sneak attack, they're rubbish at it. Their planes always fly past in daylight. And that submarine was spotted on the surface. All Vladimir Putin is doing is showing off. Those planes and this submarine wanted to be seen. They were posing. That wasn't a periscope. That was a middle finger. Chris brought us an amazing story from Worcester Cathedral of a bell ringer who got his heel caught in the rope and the rope winched him up into the bell tower. He had to get the fire brigade to lower him down 80 feet. Bonzi's on the phone. Morning, Bonzi.
Yeah, just listen to about the old bell ringer. Apparently this happens quite a lot.
Oh, really?
All the time.
All the time! All the time!
Hello.
Goodness me. Let's ring him back. Bonzi, see if I can get him back on the phone.
Hello?
Bonzi, I heard that one fella got caught in the rope and it fired him up so far into the bell tower that he actually smacked into the bell with the front of his head.
Let me guess.
Go on then, finish it.
Go on. He ended up in hospital, and the police and everything came as well, and they all checked him out, and his face don't ring a bell. Old ones are the best, aren't they?
Yeah, but do you know what else happened?
Go on.
His twin brother, his identical twin brother, he took over from him while he was sick, but he wasn't very experienced at it. Same thing happened to him, and he died.
Go on.
And he ended up falling to the bottom of the bell tower, and one bloke looks at him and goes, "That's the second time that's happened." And he says, "Oh, isn't it the same fella?" He says, "No, but he's a dead ringer for the other."
Get off.
This is Bob.
There's a warning: a social media craze for clean eating could leave a generation with fragile bones. The National Osteoporosis Society says a fifth of 18 to 35-year-olds have cut or significantly reduced dairy in their diet, which is an important source of calcium.
So now we're not eating enough. Most days we're eating too much.
Yeah.
Now we're not eating enough. There's a worrying trend that young people are not eating dairy products.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it?
Well, if you listen to some scientists, we're eating too much and it's too fatty for us.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, people who are wanting this clean living diet.
It's funny out, though, when it's one of these things where we're not eating enough. Like, we've got to have, is it like 12 portions of fruit now? I can't remember how many. It went up from 5 a day.
It keeps going up and down.
Right. So when we're not eating enough, so we're not eating enough fruit, or we're not eating enough dairy, or we're not eating enough omega, or whatever the hell it is, it's our fault. It's always our fault. But when we're eating too much, it's never our fault. It's because fast food packaging doesn't have the ingredients on it. It's because there are junk food adverts on the telly. Wait, what are the other things we've had because we're fat?
The supermarkets are putting the unhealthy food in the wrong place near the checkout.
It's the supermarket's 2-for-1 deals.
Yes, that's right.
My favourite was, this was a few weeks back, it's because your doctor's fat. Do you remember that one?
I don't remember that
They said that GPs should need to be encouraged to lose weight.
Yes, that's right.
Because they're not a good example to their patients. So one of the reasons why you're fat is because your doctor's fat. It's weird. Every time we're eating too much, it's never our fault. It's something else. But when we're not eating enough of something, it's all our fault. What's going on? Can we start in the US of A? Donald Trump is on something. Have you heard this?
Go on.
Donald Trump slurring his words in a speech.
I've heard this, yeah.
Yeah, this is he's talking about the US's decision to move their embassy to Jerusalem. There's a little bit of it.
Let us rethink old assumptions and open our hearts and minds to possible and possibilities.
Hearts and minds. Let us open our hearts and minds.
And finally, I ask the leaders of the region, political and religious, Israeli and Palestinian, Jewish and Christian and Muslim, to join us in the noble quest for lasting peace. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Israel. God bless the Palestinians. And God bless the United States. Thank you very much. Thank you.
God bless the United States.
Can we hear that last bit again?
Can we hear the last bit again?
That was the best.
Oh, that is the best bit, isn't it? Oh, yeah.
God bless the Palestinians, and God bless the United States. Thank you very much. Thank you.
God bless the United States.
Was he in a bar at this
Who wants
point?
to drink?
Did he slam a tequila shot down on the table afterwards?
I don't know. It's a nice change, though. A Trump slur that isn't racial.
It's Bob.
Well, the world is facing a crisis, Chris. You brought us
crisis?
Well, you brought us news that the modern male may know how to do stuff with a laptop, might know how to do stuff with a phone, might understand what a dongle is, but cannot change a light bulb in a time of crisis, cannot change a wheel or a fuse or do anything manly at all because of the rise of the girly man.
That's right. Yeah, they're saying things like changing light bulbs and bleeding radiators.
Bleeding radiators that are dying out. These are things that you need men for, and it's the women's fault. The women have been attracted to the girly man for years because he uses moisturiser. And they've been breeding with them and breeding more girly men, and eventually, ladies, you will have no men to help you out in a time of distress. There will be no more men. We'll all just become one homogenized generic sex. There'll be no difference between women and men. You need a difference.
You need your man to smell of man.
The smell of man. Be a man.
Smell of oil, engine oil.
That's right. I know what swarfiga is and how important it is.
Absolutely.
Know the difference between engine oil and gear oil. You know, these are important things. Joe's on the phone. Morning, Joe.
Good morning, Graham. I just wanted to let you know that the Heaney clan is doing its best to keep the testosterone male alive.
Yes.
My father was an Irish Guard and went to war in Ireland.
Yes.
I was a firefighter for 14 years.
Firefighter, yes.
Yes, get in there. My eldest son is a roofer. My youngest son is currently studying in an apprenticeship to be a joiner and working on a building site. And all of my three boys are rugby players.
Joe, by breeding proper men, you might just save the human race.
I can only give it my best shot, Graham.
I appreciate you being there, Joe. Thank you very much for checking in.
Cheers, bud. Have a good day.
Ta-ra, bye.
Turn your knob to Bob.
If you say Jesus backwards, it sounds like sausage. Just because Jesus backwards sounds like sausage doesn't mean you can depict the Saviour as a sausage roll in a nativity scene. Greg's the Bakers.
They're in trouble.
It's a genius PR move, though, isn't it?
Oh, well, people are talking about it. Greg's are getting a lot of airtime and a lot of coverage in newspapers.
Greg's the Bakers have apologised after replacing the baby Jesus with a sausage roll in a nativity scene to promote their Advent calendar. A right-wing pressure group called the Freedom Association isn't happy. Simon Richards, who's their chief executive, described the image as sick. The Freedom Association. I've looked them up. They describe themselves as a centre-right libertarian organisation.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Non-partisan centre-right, yeah.
Yeah, non-partisan. Only most of their members are Conservatives and UKIP. Non-partisan. Now, to me, it seems a bit strange for an organisation that describes itself in one of its descriptions there on the net as libertarians, and are actually called the Freedom Association, that they want to censor the advertising campaign of a business. And if you are offended by what Greggs have done, you are free to never spend your money there again. That's freedom. Banning them from having a nativity scene where instead of a baby Jesus there's a sausage roll, I think that actually infringes their freedom. I do agree with Simon Richards, though, because he also goes on to say in a tweet, we all know that they would never dare insult other religions. But isn't that a good thing? Doesn't it show that most Christians have got a sense of humour and wouldn't attack Greg's shops like maybe radical factions of other faiths might? I really don't see what all the fuss is about. A lot of Christians are told that the communion wafer literally is the flesh of Christ. If he can be a wafer, why can't he be a sausage roll?
Britain's tech-savvy iPhone generation, as they're being called, may know what a dongle is, may know how to use an iPhone and even create an app, but are clueless when it comes to changing a light bulb. According to a survey, under 35s lack basic DIY skills, so...
They can change a light bulb. Well, that's an exaggeration, isn't it? Surely they can change a light bulb.
I know somebody who got a man in to go and change a light bulb for them.
Was there somebody... female?
No.
Oh!
No, it was a bloke.
You see, I've gone on about this before. We're witnessing the end of the human race. Not only are more female babies being born than males, but the young males are not masculine. Every generation is more feminine than the next. Admit it, Chris, your dad was more masculine than you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He could build things out of bricks and breeze blocks.
My dad built a garage out of bricks,
Yeah.
and he was a plumber. So, and I bet his dad was more masculine than him. Because his dad fought in the First World War.
Yeah, well, my granddad fought in the Second World War and worked down a mine.
Yeah, so each generation of male is becoming more and more metrosexual. And we're starting to... And, you've got people like girly man David Beckham. He tried to get lots of tattoos to look hard, but he's still a girly man. And these metrosexuals... Women love them, but they don't realise, no, sometimes you need a bloke. In a time of crisis, somebody has to change that wheel. Somebody has to change that light bulb.
Somebody has to bleed a radiator. That's really satisfying, though.
Yeah, rewire a fuse, or these days even just reset a circuit breaker. That's beyond them. Finding the fuse box, beyond them. It all changed when men started calling shirts tops. It's not a top, it's a shirt. It's not a top, it's a jersey. It's not a top, it's a sweater or a pullover. It's never a top. Tops are girls' clothes. It's never a top, ever. It's a t-shirt. It's not a top.
Well, according to this research, 8 in 10 young women expect their partner to be a decent DIYer and be able to do these things.
Yes, ladies, look what you're doing by being attracted to these metrosexuals and breeding with them. You're creating even more metrosexuals. You need to seek out the real men who will be there for you in a time of crisis. And when you go into the bathroom, they haven't stolen your hair straighteners or your goop. Cyclists should be banned from the roads. It's about the most dangerous thing you can do on the road, but strangely, conservative governments and health organisations are trying to encourage people to do this dangerous thing on the road. We need to ban cyclists. It's a stupid thing to do on the roads. Ian's on the phone. Morning, Ian.
The whole cycling thing.
Yeah, they're a nightmare.
You set back the safety of cyclists on the road, who aren't all dressed as sportsmen, as you well know. There's plenty of people that use bikes to get to work, and plenty of other things. You've just set back the whole cycling safety course by about 20 years, mate.
I think what you'll find is that I'm advocating cycling safety, because cycling is the most dangerous thing you can do on the road, and I'm trying to save lives. If you're advocating cycling, then you're the one that's asking people to be unsafe. It's an unsafe thing to do on the road.
How are people supposed to get to work?
They can get to work in lots of ways as long as they don't cycle. There's lots of ways for people to get to work. Cycling isn't the only way.
You're putting people in danger.
No, I'm not. You're putting people in danger by asking them to do a dangerous thing on the road, and I'm saying they should stop them.
Anybody to do anything.
Do you think people should be allowed to cycle a push bike on a road where there's a speed limit of 60 miles an hour? Well, why? It's hundreds of people are killed every year by doing this. They should stop doing it.
Who are they killed by, Graham? By drivers.
Yeah, but the drivers, for years, cyclists have been saying it's the driver's fault. And how's that working out for them? It hasn't fixed it. Drivers are always going to hit cyclists because it's a dangerous thing to do on the road.
Drivers are always going to hit cyclists because cyclists aren't respected in this country.
But they've been asking for respect for 50 years and it hasn't worked. So why, if you keep doing something that you always do, you'll keep getting something that you always get. It's time to give up and say cycling is dangerous.
Someone on a low income who has to travel to get to work, how are they supposed to get to work?
Well, then that's a problem that they have to solve, but they shouldn't be risking their life on a push bike to get to work. That's crazy. Are you saying that that we should only... that poor people are being killed? What are you trying to do? Get rid of poor people by having them killed on the road?
I'm not talking to you anymore. You're an idiot.
What they should do is build cycle tracks off the roads so that people can ride their bikes safely. Riding a bike on the road is too dangerous. They need to stop it.
Cyclists are people. They're husbands, fathers, brothers.
Yes, and I want to save their lives, and you don't want, and you won't let me do that, and it will save their lives.
I'm not stopping you from saving anybody's life, Graham. You're putting people in danger the way you're going about it. I don't disagree with all of what you're saying, but the way you're going about it has set back cycle safety about 20 years in this area.
Cycling safety has not worked. The current system, how's that worked out for you? Hasn't worked. Time to ban it. Oh, he's hung up on me.
Turn your knob to Bob.
Spend any amount of time with my family and you will feel like you're in a sitcom.
Right. You've spent quite a bit of time with them over the last couple of weeks, I'm guessing?
Yeah, 2 weeks with them in the Northwest. Here's one of the incidents.
Okay.
Last week, I called up my Uncle Norman to set up lunch. On the phone, he says to me, "Do you know Agnes has died?" And I went, "No, I didn't." "Who's Agnes?"
Okay.
Turns out, Agnes is my mum's cousin. Supposedly, I've met Agnes at some wedding somewhere. Or
maybe
whatever.
when you were 5 or 6 years old.
Who knows? Remember, I lived in New Zealand and Australia for 14 and a half years. There's quite a gap there. Anyway. So I thought, well, I better ring my mother in case she doesn't know. So I called her up, and sure enough, she didn't know. I said, "Oh, Mum, I got some sad news for you. Your cousin Agnes has passed away." Oh, all right. So the next night, I'm round at my Auntie Hazel's. And one of the first things I said to her was, "Don't worry. I told my mother she knows all about Agnes." And Hazel goes, "Yeah, your mother rang here last night straight after you'd called her. So we put her straight." I went, "What do you mean you put her straight? Agnes isn't dead."
Right. So there must have been cross wires somewhere along the way, I'm guessing.
It turns out Agnes's husband, Derek, has died.
Not the actual person who was being talked about. Okay.
No. So I didn't ring my mother back because my mother will think I've got mixed up.
Yeah.
There's no way I've got mixed up because up until I spoke to Norman, I'd never heard of Agnes or Derek.
Right.
And the word Derek never came up. The only name I'd been given was Agnes. So why would I say the wrong one if I'd only been given... There's no way I've got it round the wrong way. There's no point ringing my mother back because it'll all be my fault.
And those two names would stick in your head.
I think so. There's a big... Yeah,
Derek.
I couldn't get those mixed up.
Yeah.
So, I'm just glad that my mother rang Hazel straight after she'd heard from me. Because the next call she could have made, thinking Agnes is dead, would be to Agnes's house, hoping to talk to Derek, to comfort Derek, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that would be the natural thing to do.
Yeah. Imagine that conversation. Hello? Hello, is Derek there? Who's this? It's Olive. I was Agnes's cousin. What do you mean you were my cousin? Who is this? It's me, Agnes. Oh, hello, Agnes. I thought you were dead. No, I'm not dead. Oh, what a relief. Anyway, how's Derek? Good morning, Chris. What can I do for you?
Just to agree with you about Cyclists.
Yes.
Also, I heard the guy that was interviewed in the report this morning
on Sky.
Saying, yeah, how much health he felt breathing all that fresh air. Well, surely if he's riding on the roads, he's breathing all the diesel fumes that are going past him.
I know. At the moment, the government are trying to ban diesel cars because they're saying it makes the air poisonous. How can the same news organisations then run a report that says sucking it all up while heavy breathing because you're riding a push bike in it is good for you? Make your mind up. It's one or the other. It can't be both.
That's right. He also said that he felt invigorated when he got to work. Well, surely he'd be all hot and sweaty and in need of a shower.
Yeah, who wants to sit next to him? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cyclists.
Especially if he's wearing lycra.
Oh, yeah. And it's always blokes who never... Well, nobody looks good in lycra anyway, let's face it. It's always people who shouldn't be wearing lycra. There is something wrong with them. People who get on push bikes and ride them on public roads have a mental illness.
I couldn't agree more.
Every day we hear how the NHS is at breaking point, it's in crisis. Yet people continue to get stuff on the NHS that isn't about life-saving. Like people get nicotine patches on the NHS. People get fertility treatment paid for by our tax money. And boob jobs. I mean... If your self-esteem is so low because your boobs aren't big enough, what's wrong with you having to pay for it? I've got no objection to you having a boob job, but why do I have to pay for it? Same deal with gastric bands. I don't get it. Leslie, tell me about your relative.
She was 37 stone.
Right.
And she had a gastric band fitted.
Right. On the NHS? Did we pay for it? Yeah.
And she also got permission to have the excess flesh removed.
Okay, right. And that was paid for by the NHS as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. However, she lost, she went right down to 16 stone. She did so well.
Yeah.
And then they pulled the plug on the operation.
What do you mean they pulled the plug on the operation?
They said that she had to lose another 6 stone
Yes.
before they would operate.
Oh, to remove the excess skin?
Yes.
So they'd had the gastric band, but not the skin, right? Okay, yeah.
Yes, but then...
Well, actually, they didn't say she couldn't have it. They said they wouldn't pay for it. She could still have it if she paid for it herself.
Well, probably, yes, but she's not in a position to do that. And it makes her fall over.
The extra fat, right.
Yeah, it makes her fall over.
Well, then, she should, when you say she's not in a position to do that, if that's the most important thing in her life, she must be spending money on something. Stop spending the money on whatever it is and save up and have the operation.
Well, there is that to it. But she can't work because her joints are all preventing her from bending and moving about naturally.
So what work does she do? Is she a scaffolder or something?
No.
Can she answer the telephone?
No.
Can she talk to you on the telephone? If you ring her up, can she talk to you?
Yes, she can.
So she can use the telephone?
Right,
I'm saying some people's work,
telesales, I suppose.
some people's work is just using the telephone.
Yes, yeah, okay. So you put me to shame.
No,
okay.
no. What I'm saying is, a lot of people.
I just feel so sorry for her because she works so hard.
Yeah.
And it's impossible for her to lose another 6 stone.
How's it impossible?
Well, because I think she's done enough and she's comfortable where she is. And surely when she gets on those scales, this skin and flesh...
she has a choice. She can carry on as she can carry on as she is, with a lifestyle as she is, and she can pay to have the surgery, or she can lose the weight and someone will pay for her to have the surgery. So she does have a choice.
Yes, she does. All right then.
All right. Cheers, Leslie.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
This is Bob.
I think I've worked out how to save the planet. We keep hearing about how fossil fuels are bad for the environment and how they're eventually going to run out anyway. So there's no future in that. As long as we generate electricity from renewable sources, the answer has to be electric cars. Now, I've been thinking about this lately. The new Mack is a hybrid. It's petrol and electric. So I'm kind of halfway there. But I have been wondering about, why not go all the way? Why not go all electric? And so last night, I woke up in the middle of the night with the answer. Electric cars haven't caught on yet. And the reason most people give for not buying them is electric cars don't have the range. Well, range isn't really the issue. Some Tesla models can go for 300 miles on a single charge. The real problem is the time it takes to charge them up. It takes hours. If your battery goes flat and you're not at your final destination, you're knackered. If there's nowhere to charge it up when you get there, you can't get home. I can't get a fully electric car because I live in a block of flats with nowhere to charge it. I can't plug it in at work. And if there was somewhere to charge it between home and work, I'd have to add a few hours to my commute while I waited for it to charge up. The answer is pretty simple. Removable batteries. If you had an electric car with, let's say, 4 removable batteries, each one powerful enough to run the car's motor individually for, say, 100 miles. Have it set up so the car uses one battery until it's dead, and then it switches to the next one. When you stop at a charging station, all you have to do is take out the dead batteries and replace them with fully charged ones. That way, you'd be able to refuel an electric car in just a few minutes, probably quicker than you could fill up a petrol car. The dead batteries could then be charged at the charging station. And when they're fully charged, they'd be ready to be exchanged for dead ones from the next electric car driver. Stick a wind turbine and solar cells at the charging station, and the electricity to charge the batteries would be generated without harming the environment or taking resources from the national grid. So, electric cars are the future, but not until we make them so that you can take the batteries out. So sad to hear that Keith Chegwin has died at the age of 60. When I was about 16, living in the Northwest, I went out with a girl called Julie Chegwin, and she told me she was Keith Chegwin's cousin. And I believed her. Up until 2005, when I met Keith Chegwin, and he told me he doesn't have a cousin called Julie. I was working at a radio station on the south coast called 2CR, and we put on a charity night at Bournemouth Pavilion to raise money for a local children's hospice, Julia's House. And we needed a host for the event. I don't know how Keith's name came up, but we called him, and when he found out why we were raising money, he agreed to do it for free. And on the night he was brilliant. He was funny and charming, and at one point he even sent himself up. 12 years earlier, he'd revealed he was an alcoholic in a live TV interview on This Morning. So at one point, during this do at the Pavilion, he came out on stage with a 6-foot-high inflatable whiskey bottle. The next time I met Keith Chegwin was in 2012 when I was hosting the breakfast show on BBC Wiltshire in Swindon, and he was appearing in the panto Cinderella at the Wyvern Theatre. I interviewed him a couple of times for that show, and he was a total pro. In the first interview we did, he had a joke locked and loaded, and at the end of our chat he pulled the trigger. He said, "I've just got one of those new tablet computers. It's not an Apple. It's a pirate one. It's an eye patch." The next time he was on the show, he told me that he was having problems finding somewhere to park in Swindon while the panto was on. He was driving up from Reading. Well, the phones went mad with people offering to let him park in their driveway. I think he ended up taking up an offer from a local pub, and he parked in their car park while the panto was on. So, I remember Keith Chegwin for 5 things. Number 1, he was the kind of bloke people pretended to be related to. Number 2, he was a bloke that gave up his time to help others. Number 3, he didn't take himself too seriously. Number 4, he was funny. And number 5, and I think most importantly, he was likeable. If you think about it, and you got the chance to pick what you are remembered for, wouldn't you like it to be just one of those 5 things? For me, Keith Chegwin, I'll remember him for all 5. That's why Keith Chegwin was a 5-star celebrity.
Could you be a professional cuddler, do you think?
I don't like being touchy-feely with some people I don't know. You know, like I can cuddle Julie I could cuddle Julie the whole time. I could cuddle Julie 24 hours a day. I'm not sure she'd be too keen on being cuddled that much, but cuddling, I don't even, it's really difficult. Like, when it's like you're in a formal situation, like a work thing, and you're introduced to a bloke, it's easy, you just shake hands.
Absolutely.
But with a woman, you don't know what to do.
No.
Because some women don't like you shaking hands, and some are like overly like the arms around, and then some want the kiss on the cheek, and I don't like doing that. So often I'll turn a cheek, and sometimes I end up with the cheek-to-cheek business.
Yeah.
And then there's the really awkward one where you go to shake hands, and then they come in for a cuddle and turn around. Next minute, you've grabbed the sleepy puppy. I mean, it's fraught with danger.
It's that double kiss. That
which one?
That
one. So the cuddling thing. No, I couldn't be a professional cuddler. I don't like the touchy thing with people I'm not that close to.
They're cashing in £60 an hour for hugging sessions.
Oh, hang on, though.
Yeah.
How much?
60 quid an hour.
Oh, I think I could get used to it.
£300 for a cuddle sleepover.
Wait a second. You pay...
There's nothing untoward about this.
Oh, no. For 300 quid, there better be. It's a wait a second. You pay 300 quid for a sleepover?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not into that. I'm just saying, as far as value for money goes, okay? If you've paid £300 and they've spent the night with you and all you got was a cuddle, you've been ripped off, my friend.
Well, this has been seen as a form of therapy now.
Oh, is it now? Yeah. Is it now?
Yeah, absolutely. The service was launched...
This sounds like a clever ruse to me.
You reckon?
It's like, because, it's illegal to take £300 for anything more than a cuddle, if you know what I'm saying. It's against the law, right? But if your defence is, oh no, we were only cuddling, do you expect this court to believe you paid £300 for a cuddle?
Well, there was a video actually came up on my Facebook timeline a couple of days ago about this, and there was this beardy bloke who was saying, it's completely innocent. All it is just a cuddle.
So the £300, you get cuddled all night by a beardy bloke?
Yeah.
Well, how do you guarantee he's not a drooler? Because he's going to fall asleep, isn't he?
Yeah.
If it's all night.
Fall asleep at some point, yeah.
Or a snorer.
Well, that is it. I mean, he needs some sort of guarantee that he's not going to keep you awake all night.
He's a beardy bloke. I don't want to be prejudiced here against beardy blokes, but it has to be said that a beardy bloke is more likely to be a bloke who, I don't know, the Campaign for Real Ale. They're all beardy blokes. Okay?
Majority, a fair number.
Yeah, camera. They're all beardy blokes. So the digestive system, and if he likes a beer, he's going to like a snack with a beer. Who doesn't like a snack with a beer? Maybe a curry. You could find yourself
an amazing picture.
You could find yourself trapped under the covers. This could be the Dutch oven, and you've paid 300 quid. Oh, cyclists, these people who have a mental illness, cyclists, who do this dangerous thing on our roads and then blame everybody else on the roads but them. They're the only people that do something dangerous. It's like a skydiver blaming the plane. A report by Sky News this morning. It's going to cost lives, this. It says that people who cycle to work reduce the risk of cancer and heart disease by almost a half. Sky News have regurgitated figures from a study that says people who cycle for their commute to work have a 46% lower risk of cardiovascular disease and a 45% lower risk of developing cancer than people who drive to work or take public transport. Now, I'm sure these figures are correct. But Sky hasn't mentioned that the kind of people who usually cycle to work are fitness freaks. They've got healthy lifestyles and diets as well. It's not just the cycling. You can't take a fat smoker, stick them on a push bike and expect them to suddenly get magically healthy. They haven't balanced the figures either, with the number of cyclists killed on our roads every year. Department of Transport figures show that cyclists are more than 17 times more likely to be killed on the road than motorists. For every 1 billion miles travelled on UK roads, 35 cyclists are killed in collisions, compared with just 2 motorists. Those stats again, 35 to 2. And cyclists are more than 23 times more likely to be involved in a crash than motorists. 6,588 cyclists are injured per billion miles travelled compared to just 288 car users. That gap once again, 6,588 versus 286. Without balance, this Sky News report is fake news. It's suggesting that cycling on a public highway is actually a healthy thing to do. That's dangerous because it might actually encourage people to ride bikes on public roads, and that's the last thing we want to happen. Cycling propaganda is everywhere. Governments and health organisations are constantly touting the health benefits of cycling while they ignore the fact that more than 100 people are killed on push bikes in Britain every year and thousands are seriously injured. There isn't a single news organisation in this country that is anti-cycling. So the truth about riding bikes on the road is being censored. The only thing left for us to do is every time we see a cyclist on the road, we should wind down the window and shout at them. We should beg them to stop this dangerous behaviour. It's the only way we're going to save lives. Lives that could be saved if Sky News and the other media outlets actually told the truth. Oh dear, lots to get hold of this morning, Chris. The war on the drinking straw. Now.
Absolutely, yeah. Now they're targeting restaurants. Restaurants say they're going to be cutting down on these straws.
I've never understood the point of the drinking straw. I mean, was tilting a glass that much work?
You have to pick the glass up
Yes.
and then tilt it into your mouth.
Yeah.
Using a straw is a lot more involved.
It seems to be, yeah.
Because very often when they go in the drink, they float up and you have to keep pushing it back down into the drink and, it's just a hassle.
I've only ever spilled one drink in public in my life. And that was a drink that had a straw in it. I reached across the table to get something else, a salt or something, I can't remember what. And because the straw was sticking out of the top of the thing, it knocked it over.
That's what happens.
Yeah, I'm with this. I'm with this campaign to reduce them.
100,000 straws a month is what just one chain's using.
I know, but once again, they're having to go at the straw itself, not the material it's made from. The problem is the plastic. Because remember, we used to have paper drinking straws. Where have they gone?
That's right. They were big in the 80s.
Yeah.
I seem to remember. But interestingly, this chain, Oakman Inns, is saying that they won't be serving up straws voluntarily.
Yeah.
But if someone asks for them, they'll give them an environmentally friendly version.
They will. They'll give them... Because the paper straw was an interesting thing, because if you were a kid and you sucked on it too long, it got soggy and stopped working, and my dad would lean over and he'd rip the top off the straw so you could start again with a fresh bit there. Yeah, so that's interesting. And who was your spokesman from the NHS?
Oh, well,
Spokeslady.
This is somebody from the Campaign for Better Hospital Food.
Yeah, okay. Now, once again, another reason why you're fat, and it isn't you. I'm sorry, if you're fat, it's you. But we found out that it was, let's see if I can keep up here. It's because of advertising, because there isn't a tax on soft drinks, because of 2-for-1 deals, because of supermarkets.
Yeah.
Because your doctor's fat was one of them. If you're fat, it's got nothing to do with you. Well, look, it has, okay? And now that you're fat because they sell fizzy drinks in hospital shops.
Yeah, they're blaming hospital shops
And
now.
she's saying what she wants is choice. What does she... Have you got the audio there?
Yeah, here we go. This is Catherine Button from the Campaign for Better Hospital Food.
Pushed my button, that's for sure.
We really believe patients should have choice, and that should be a choice that really promotes their health and well-being. At the moment, a choice of 5 different sorts of fizzy drinks, that's not really a choice. So we want patients to have the option of a real healthy beverage that means they can hydrate in a way that's healthy and promotes their well-being.
She's a liar. She's a liar. She's saying... Well, if you want choice, then you actually should have the fizzy drinks there, the sugary drinks there, so you can choose one of those if you want one of those. That would be promoting choice, right? All of these shops sell water.
They do. All of them.
All of them. And some of them still and fizzy. In fact, There's all kinds of water. There's vitamin water. There's watered down cordial water. You know, that flavoured water, which is basically watered down cordial water.
Yeah.
They do have choice. She wants to take choice. She's dangerous. She wants to take choice away and claim she's giving you choice by doing that.
Well, they're targeting shops that have got outlets in hospitals, so the likes of W.H. Smith's, Subway and Greggs. I have never, ever been into a W.H. Smith where there hasn't been vast quantities of bottled water.
Bottled water?
Bottled water of all sizes.
Yes.
You can get little bottles of water, massive bottles of water.
No, she is a dangerous individual and a control freak, and she must be stopped.
It's Bob.
Anyone thinking about getting a dash cam, don't do what I did. Do what Chris Hubbard did.
Why is this?
Well, you and I took very different approaches to this.
Yeah.
You bought one of the cheapest ones you could.
Yeah, it was about 50 quid.
50 quid. Stuck it to your windscreen and plugged it into the cigarette lighter.
Yeah. Wrapped the cabling round some of the pillars and hid it all out of the way.
Yeah. I couldn't do that, could I? I couldn't do that. Your example, and you even had an insurance, an incident where a guy, he took your wing mirror off or something?
Yeah, scraped the side of the car, ran into the car, got the evidence, ended up in court.
Used in court.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm inspired by this story. But why couldn't I do what you did? 50 quid, plug in the cigarette lighter, stick it to the windscreen. Oh, no, I have to go the whole hog, don't I?
Well, it was quite impressive, your effort.
Yeah. Don't.
No?
Don't do it. Don't do it. If you're thinking of getting a dash cam fitted to your car, professionally fitted, don't do it. Unless you enjoy spending ever-increasing amounts of money on software and SD cards, and you've got hours of spare time to faff about with it. I thought I wanted one for Christmas. I had one fitted to my car. Actually, I had two fitted. Because the last accident I was involved in, a bloke went into the back of me. So I wanted a front one and a back-facing camera as well. Well, of course, they cost more. And the price went up from just under £100 to around £200. Then I decided I wanted HD video. Because I thought, well, I want to be able to clearly read the number plate of anyone who hits me. Well, that cost even more. Then there's the cost of this weird power controller thing that you have to have. It makes sure your battery doesn't go flat while it records in parking mode. By the time I'd bought all of the hardware and had the thing fitted, I had a bill for just under 400 quid.
Whew.
And that was just the beginning of my nightmare. The camera uses tiny SD cards. About the size of your little fingernail. Same things that go into your smartphone, those fiddly little things. So getting it in and out of the camera is beyond fiddly, especially if you're in the driver's seat and you're right-handed, which most people are.
Yes. And that's where you would tend to change the cards from.
Yes. The dash cam is attached high up inside the windscreen on the left, so you've got nothing to lean on. Your arms are flailing around in the air. First, you've got to unplug the power lead, then the other lead that runs to the rear camera. Once you've done that, you pop off a cap, and finally, with your little finger, push the end of the tiny SD card in to make it pop out by about 2 millimeters, just enough for you to grip the edge of the card with your fingernails. And then, the next thing you do is drop it and lose it somewhere in the car. Thankfully, because the card is out of the camera and the power is disconnected, you don't get to digitally record the audio of you swearing at yourself. The interior of my car, as you know, is black. And so is the micro SD card. So after moving the passenger seat backwards and forwards, I eventually found the micro SD card in one of the cup holders. So I put the tiny SD card in the adapter that turns it into a full-size SD card. Now, this thing's not much bigger than a postage stamp. Why they needed to reduce it to a quarter of that size, I'll never know. I would have been happy with something that size. I could have worked with that. It's not a giant thing. It's not like it's a huge VHS tape. It's a thing the size of a postage stamp. Why can't the cameras just take that? Anyway, so I put it in the adapter thing and stuck it in the back of my iMac. That's when I discovered that iMovie cannot read AVI files.
Oh.
That the dashcam records in. So I downloaded the viewer software from the dashcam manufacturer's site. I can't edit or save any of the files with it.
Right.
Because it's just a viewer.
Oh.
But I can at least see and hear what's captured.
Yeah.
Now, I drive to Liverpool and back every Sunday. And I was hoping that I'd be able to capture some of the weird stuff I see on the road. You know, hazy sunrise over the Birmingham skyline from the M6. Or maybe the cows crossing the cow bridge over the motorway on their way to be milked. Or perhaps the drunks on Hanover Street, Liverpool, that try to hail me thinking I'm an Uber. Or the drunken girls wearing tiny dresses, barefoot, holding their shoes, zigzagging along the pavement, dodging pavement pizzas.
You could have sold these to the Daily Mail.
Exactly. But the 16 gigabyte micro SD card that comes with the dash cam only has enough storage for about half an hour's worth of HD recording.
And it loops round.
Once it's filled that up, it goes back to the beginning and erases it. So by the time I get home, all you ever get is the last half an hour of your last journey. That's all it tapes.
Yep.
But don't forget parking mode. I got about an hour's worth of the brick wall I park against at home. Now, I need a bigger SD card. I'm on a 16 gig. I need bigger ones.
Yeah.
So I go to Wilco's. I think they'll be the cheapest. 65 gig micro SD card was the biggest one they had. 25 quid.
Yeah, they're not cheap, are
No. And I need two. Because when I take one out the camera, I want to put a fresh one straight in. So I bought two from Wilco's, 25 quid each. So now I'm another 50 quid light. I've still no way of saving the footage because I can't read the thing. I can only look at it. I can't edit it. So anyway, I put the 65 gig micro SD card in, drove around for a few days, decided last night to take it out and see what's on it. So I dropped it again in the car after moving both seats this time, found it again on the front ledge in front of the Speedo. Stuck the micro SD card in its adapter, slotted it into the back of the iMac. This time, the computer couldn't even read the card.
Oh, no.
So I Googled what to do and looked at a 12-year-old on a YouTube video telling me what to do. Turns out that the SD card hadn't been formatted. Now, I know when I put it in the camera, there's this bossy female told me to wait while it was formatting. Well, she must have been lying, because it wasn't formatted. So I found out I could format it through this viewer software that I downloaded, but that means erasing everything on the card. Well, that's no great loss. I couldn't read what was on there anyway. So I formatted and erased the card. Now the computer recognised the 65 gig micro SD card. So I went to the preferences section. This is where you set up how you want the camera to work. Because I don't want it to record the sound from inside the car. I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I wanted to change how it records in 1 minute chunks. I wanted to extend that and go to about 3 minute chunks.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I go to the preferences section. Oh no, can't do that. No firmware on the card.
What?
What is?
What's that?
No idea. But it
I've
doesn't.
heard of it.
But the SD card you get from Wilco's doesn't have firmware for my dash cam on it, which maybe I should have known. So I found on the manufacturer's website, I found the firmware for my model number of dash cam. So I downloaded that. But I can't work out how to get the firmware onto the card. I've tried the drag and drop thing.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't do it. So now I've gone back to the original 16 gig micro SD card.
Did this one come with the camera?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. The two I bought from Wilco's at a cost of 50 quid, waste of time. So that's just 50 quid down the drain. So I've gone back to this original 16 gig micro SD card that came with the camera. I don't even know if it's recording or not. And I'm scared to take it out in case I lose it, because I've only got the one now.
Yep.
That'll work. If it is working. Because I don't know if it is. I've noticed that the light doesn't come on anymore when I'm parked.
Oh.
So maybe that's because I erased and reformatted it. Maybe I did something to the firmware and it doesn't... So now I won't get any footage of the brick wall in front of the flats anymore. To be honest, I've had enough of it. I really wish I hadn't spent close to £450 so far. Now, I could buy 2 65 gigabyte micro SD cards from the manufacturer's site. And to be fair to them, the instruction book does make it very clear that they don't recommend you use any other kind. But I just thought that was a scam-a-llama ding-dong to sell more of their SD cards.
Well, you tend to, don't you?
Yeah. You go, of course you're only going to recommend your own.
Yeah.
But the thing is, their ones might come complete with the correct firmware. But I don't know. All I know is that the manufacturer's SD cards, 65 gigabyte.
Yeah.
They cost £89 each.
What? And how big are these? Sorry again, how many gigabytes?
The size of they're 65, same as the ones 65. I got from Wilco's for 25 quid.
25 quid.
They're 89. But even if I do that,
yeah.
So that's nearly another 200 quid, isn't it? I still won't be able to read what's on there because the iMac software doesn't read AVI files.
Yeah.
But I found I can download some software that reads it and edits on a Mac. And you can save things. But that's another £44. The irony is, the main reason I got a dash cam was in case I had an accident, like when that bloke went up the back of me.
Yeah.
But now, I feel like I've been rear-ended by the dash cam!
Bob's Breakfast.